Like sand in an hourglass, land gets weathered and shifts as time passes. Unlike previous adjustments in our planet's physical form, however, climate change promises to alter the face of our planet faster than any other natural cycle in our history. So do yourself a favor, listen to The Hub and visit 10 places on Earth that will disappear while we still live. Purchase your flights and start exploring before these locations are gone forever. Rising sea levels may be a red flag for climate change, but the subscribe button is a beacon of information in confusing times. Let The Hub teach you about Earth's most exotic sights and sounds while supplies last. Cape Hatteras. Erosion is a normal process for most beaches and shorelines, and Cape Hatteras in North Carolina's Outer Banks is no different. Rising sea levels, however, threaten to quicken the pace of shrinking sandbars, and the approaching tide will swallow up more coast at a faster rate than ever before. Over the past half-century, for instance, the water level has risen by 0.11 inches per year, and temperatures have gone up 0.5 degrees Fahrenheit over 10 years. We're expecting to see a 4 to 6 degree increase in temperatures during the 21st century, with sea levels going up by 5 feet in the next 100 years. All of these changes threaten to impact the tourism industry of the area. As this is a popular vacation destination for the east coast of the United States, many homeowners and beach house rental companies are taking all the precautions necessary. And when firming up the foundation isn't enough, houses are being raised and moved further inland. But with the beach having eroded by 2,500 feet over the past century and a half, and Hatteras Island only being a quarter of its original width, the famous lighthouse of Cape Hatteras doesn't stand a good chance of holding its ground within our lifetime. Glacier National Park. The breathtaking Glacier National Park in Montana is also at risk, with its namesake glaciers melting before our eyes. The massive mountains, carved by slow-moving ice flow, will soon lose that very same ice for good. 100 years ago, 150 ice sheets trickled over the landscape, but that number has been dwindled down to 25. Experts project that the last remaining glaciers will dissipate within the next 30 years. But beyond the missing ice, other indicators show a changing landscape. Lush greenery and vibrant spring flowers are blooming sometimes a month earlier than normal. Rivers fill with higher water levels and flow faster than normal. And the local trout population faces some setbacks due to their habitat's higher than usual temperatures. Researchers have pointed out that the natural weather cycles do fluctuate between warmer periods and colder periods, but a steep increase in snow and ice melt has been noted over the past 30 to 40 years. With all these predicted climate changes, the area is expected to eventually become arid and dry, similar to other more desert-like locations in the American West, and will witness the change to this ecosystem firsthand. The Alps. In The Sound of Music, the title character Maria was told to climb every mountain, but that may be harder to do in the coming years. The Alps of Central Europe are experiencing major changes. Like many other natural habitats around the world, similar to the ice sheets of Montana, alpine glaciers feed lakes, rivers, and reservoirs around Europe, fostering environments for hundreds and hundreds of surrounding miles. Many of the glaciers and snowpacks that have categorized the Alps and been made famous in old legends and James Bond ski chase scenes alike will disappear within our lifetime. But local ski resorts aren't going down without a fight. In a creative move, the Pitstall Glacier Ski Resort laid specifically made fabric over large swaths of mountain land, basically like a giant white picnic blanket. Each swath of the synthetic wool, hemp, and plastic fabric covers a glacial area of about 15 acres, keeping it cool and melt-resistant during the summer months. But sustaining the ice is a massive undertaking by these standards, because as essential as the frigid Alps are to the European economy, a little less than a fifth of alpine land is protected as national parks. The Dead Sea. Over the next several decades, the Dead Sea may become truer to its name. This Middle Eastern body of water is one of the saltiest and lowest locations on our planet, and at the bottom lies a 90 feet thick layer of hardened sodium. 120,000 years ago, and then again 10,000 years ago, the area around the sea had experienced unprecedented droughts. Already limited in present day, rainfall during these two periods were only 20% of modern levels. Although the area is practically a rainforest compared to those darker earlier days, it's currently going through its worst drought in nearly 1,000 years. And with increasing temperatures, the water level for that region could only get worse. The River Jordan is the sea's only tributary, and as neighboring countries like Jordan, Israel, and Palestine pull water from the river, the Dead Sea loses its density as it increases in saltiness. Shrinking by over 30% in less than 50 years, the Dead Sea, with all its biblical significance and reported healing powers, may dry up again, not too long from now. So take a dip before it's gone forever. The Great Barrier Reef. Often boasted as the only living thing visible from space, this massive organic structure populates the Australian coastline with diverse wildlife and colorful architecture. The Great Barrier Reef stretches for nearly 1,500 miles, roughly the drive from New York to Dallas, Texas, and all of it may be gone while we still live. Designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the coral reef is threatened by pollution, development, and nearby human activity. This caused portions of the reef to be bleached pure white in 1998 and 2002. In 2016 and 2017, unfortunately, the reef was bleached for 2 consecutive years in a row, for the first time on record. Scientists point to warmer waters and note that the bleach patches have grown since last year. While coral can recover from bleaching, researchers worry that 2 years of bleaching in a row can limit the capacity for recovery, making these areas an unrecoverable wasteland. In 2016, 20% of the reef was bleached, while in 2017, almost 70% of the area experienced some bleaching. This is such negative news for conservationists that UNESCO has been considering adding the Great Barrier Reef to its list of heritage sites in danger. Bangladesh. To the east of India lies Bangladesh, a small Southeast Asian country the size of New York with many waterways, all in danger of swallowing up the surrounding land. It's been undergoing a lot of changes, and most haven't been for the better. With quickly rising sea levels, a fifth of the country could soon be underwater, displacing a large portion of 161 million people who live there. This prospect of climate change-induced instability is made more tragic by the strides Bangladesh has made over the past 40 years. It's seen an addition of over 10 years to the life expectancy rates, universal funding for high school education, and a decline in the poverty rate from half the population to a quarter of the population. But the Bay of Bengal has seen some of the highest sea level rises in the world, and warmer waters means bigger storms and displaced citizens. Not to mention that due to the human impact, Bengal tigers are also in danger as their habitat of mangrove forests has been mowed down and cleared out for use as farmlands. With unlevel and soft terrain, it's harder to build levees and dams, so other creative means will need to be devised to halt the sinking of the country. Mount Kilimanjaro. Ernest Hemingway once wrote about the snows of Kilimanjaro, but the icy caps of this famous African mountain may not be around much longer, with projections stating that the snow could be gone by the year 2100, and probably before that, with the temperatures at the peak slowly catching up to the heat at the base of the mountain. Over the past 100 years, the glacial ice atop the mountain has lost around 85% of its mass. While most experts find climate change to be the culprit, scientists surprisingly can't agree on what exactly is making the snow go. Divided strictly into 2 different camps, some researchers believe the decreasing snow is due to the increase of heat, while others argue that the summit is simply growing drier. Regardless of the cause, this diamond white jewel atop one of Africa's natural wonders will never be the same. The Great Wall of China. A wall so great, it's said to be visible from space, and yet almost a third of it is in despair. Over 1,200 miles of the Great Wall of China has been weathered by erosion and other factors. This portion is nearly beyond repair. If action is not taken, and any action at this point will be an immense physical and financial undertaking, then we could see this portion of the wall cease to be. Most people have an image of a fortified and seemingly impenetrable wall stretching as far as the eye can see, but that area is a small stretch near Beijing. Most of the structure, built over different eras and comprised of natural borders, mountainous regions, and various other walls, is in contrasting degrees of disrepair. While the lesser-known portions of the wall are certainly fascinating to any curious traveler, a newer trend among tourists to visit the wild Great Wall has led to quicker deterioration, with visitors stealing bricks, marking places with graffiti, or walking over fragile sections. At this point, less than 10% of the Great Wall is considered to be in good condition, while the rest of the nearly 12,500 mile long barrier needs serious work and funding. Venice. Some people really don't like certain cities. Maybe you're someone from Minneapolis who doesn't like the traffic in Los Angeles, or you're from LA and really don't get the New York accent, or you're from New York and you really aren't a fan of Boston sports teams. Sure, you may wish certain aspects of a city that you perceive to be negative would just disappear, but have you ever wished an entire city would just disappear? Unfortunately, that might happen someday to Italy's cultural capital. Built over a waterway, the foundation of Venice has withstood centuries of floods, weeks of storms, and the simple day-to-day experience of living on water. Earlier in the 20th century, city planners had pumped groundwater from under the city, but it was later discovered that this act caused the buildings above to sink faster into the sediment below. Venice naturally sinks at a rate of 0.04 inches per year, but human activities can raise that rate to almost 0.4 per year. While that number makes it seem like the ancient Italian arts center is centuries away from danger, even these slight dips in height make it more susceptible to rising sea levels and damaging floods. Easter Island. The tiny Easter Island is another UNESCO World Heritage Site in Polynesia that's threatened by climate change. As rising waters eat away at the coast, the statues closest to the beach will have their foundations worn away. Exposing the lower portions of the statues, these stone figures with their oversized heads will probably be washed out to sea. The 887 stone statues, with some weighing over 80 tons, were somehow moved by inhabitants of the island who have since disappeared. Scientists think they arrived at the island a little less than a millennium ago, using simple boats and flourished to a population over 15,000 people. When the Western explorers discovered the island in the 17th century, only a couple thousand inhabitants remained. Dwindling down to a little more than 100 indigenous peoples, their population's diminished numbers were attributed to the introduction of the explorers' European diseases. However, recent evidence has pointed to drought, irregular rainfall, and infighting between indigenous families over resources as a cause for the lessened populace. It's sadly ironic that climate change may have had a hand in both the Easter Islanders' disappearance over the past centuries and the potential disappearance of their statues in the near future. Now that you know what places are the class of 2017's most likely to disappear, go find cheap travel deals and see these beautiful landmarks. Not only will you be adding stamps to your passport, but you'll be witnessing beautiful getaway spots that you'll never want to forget. Now go to these places, make memories, and pass on the knowledge of what they were like for the next generation.